I'm here again coming at you from the famous Angkor Wat, which is the main landmark in Cambodia. This is one of the smaller temples. It's like a huge city with all kinds of different temples that were built 500 years ago. But anyway, that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is all of you have been messaging me, like all my friends from America, asking me about like what are the differences between life in Russia and life in America. So I've compiled all your questions together. It's a nice sunset time, pretty lighting. All your questions together and I'll answer it in this video. So, of course, you all know already that I love Russia because I've been there for over 2 years. Coming on 3 years, my 3-year visa is expiring. And it's weird. It's like all my problems just kind of disappeared when I moved to Russia. I mean, rent's pretty cheap in Russia, so I don't have to spend as much time slaving away at a desk just to afford to pay rent. Man, I'm kind of out of breath. We're pretty high up on a mountain, I think. And yeah, the only downsides of Russia are the cold. It's really cold, like minus 40 in the winter. Not every day, but that's colder than you can imagine. And if you're just an average person trying to work, the wages are very low. Like if you're just working in an office or hopefully not. Oh, you can see another temple. Let's see if we can show you up over the hill here. And yeah, if you're working at like a coffee shop, you literally make $1.50 an hour. Like if you wanted to work at KFC, that's like, I guess what would be considered minimum wage. So that's a downside. So as far as safety, I'd say cities here in Russia, I'm just gonna say here, even though I'm not in Russia right now, but cities here in Russia seem much safer than USA cities. For example, like you never really see things broken into. In Los Angeles, I remember like every single block of the city had broken glass on the ground from cars broken into. Can you guys see that? Way off in the distance, is that Angkor Wat?
Yes. Yeah.
The big one? Okay, so that's the biggest one right there. You can see that spire kind of pointing up. But I won't make it there today. The sun's gonna go down first. Okay, back to Russia. So yeah, in general, it seems a lot safer there. And everyone asks about the language. And yes, the language is ridiculously hard. Sure, you have to learn a new alphabet. That's the easy part. I mean, there's only like 30 characters, something like that. So you just memorize those. It's just an alphabet. That's easy. And words are actually spelled how they sound. Look at that cool temple in the sunset. They're spelled how they sound a lot more often than English. So in like a week, you can memorize the alphabet, look at a word and sound it out somewhat. I mean, you're not going to make the sounds correctly though. A lot of them are like really deep in your throat and you have to curl, like SH is like you curl your tongue back. It's like, I can't make it. It's so hard. And they're so hard. And then also the words, I have to probably be a little quieter once I go into the temple. The words are very long and you've got to learn to string together all these like super foreign sounding sounds and remember a word. And then you have to remember what it means too, which, I mean, that's the easy part. Yeah, I can go. Oh, thank you. Oh, cool. I get a temple pass here. So, yeah, and so then you've got to learn the word, and the other thing that makes it so hard is the grammar. I mean, there's like, I'll just face backwards. There's 10 different ways to say each word because depending if it's direct objects, noun, subject, object of a preposition. It's going to have a different prefix or suffix. And oh man, don't even get me started on adjectives. They change all the time. So you have to learn each word 10, maybe 15 times. So that's what makes the language so difficult. And for some perspective, I'll look at my, I almost fell. Look at my buddy Lion here. For perspective, in 3 months when I lived in South America, I learned more Spanish and could speak more easily with, random people on the street than I could after 2 years of studying Russian every day, like meeting with people to have them help me read YouTube lessons every day. It's been really hard. Okay, enough about language. Man, I'm really out of breath. This is embarrassing. On personalities and kind of the traits and traditions. Life there is a lot more traditional. It's literally like going back in time. Everything's a lot more traditional there. Think of the USA maybe in the 50s, how you would picture that. So everything's still very family centered still. Like children will take advice from their parents as opposed to listening to Miley Cyrus or whatever celebrity is currently popular. So that's really cool. It's much more family oriented. There's not this as much of this strong independent is so cool like in the West. That's probably a relic of communism, like working together. It's more important. And biggest thing I've noticed after living there for a while is the men and women roles are much more traditional. So, for example, like romance and chivalry is still very appreciated by women here in Russia. They're looking for a strong, reliable, financially stable man by their side and don't have a desire to be independent. I mean, surely some do, but we're making broad strokes here, so just try and bear with me a bit. And so, of course, the men are expected to work a lot, provide for the family, though most women do work at least some time in their life. And both men and women are expected to go to university. Let's see if we can see Angkor Wat from up here. Can you see Angkor Wat? I can't quite see the big temple. So since we're on the topic of men and women, let's talk about relationships. So relationships, and just friend relationships, they develop much slower here in Russia. I mean, basically, everyone I've met keeps the same friends they've had since they were pretty much their whole life. You might make your friends 2nd, 3rd grade and just keep them your whole life because they're very suspicious of strangers. So they almost never make new close friends. There's some sort of traditional altar. I'll probably leave some money there when people leave. I don't want to bother them with my talking. So yeah, everything moves slower. There's not a hookup culture like there is in the USA. And though people still do use Tinder, it's not like it is in the West. I mean, things are just going to move much slower. All right, another question I get a lot is, man, my hair is not looking good in the wind. No! Look at that. Is what do people think about gays? And so people don't love gays in Russia, especially older people. They're going to be more traditional. But every city, they still have gay bars. And I've never met a young person that has a problem with them. But yeah, you're never going to see gays kissing in public. and you might see them like kind of leaning on each other. They don't completely hide that they're gay, but yeah, it's still something to be a little hush hush and just aware that if you're gay in Russia, like, not everyone's gonna think that's too cool. So I get asked about girls, of course, and yes, girls are unbelievably beautiful in Russia. It's like living in a parallel universe, like nowhere else. I mean, maybe like Nordic countries, but yeah, nowhere else can compare. The girls are, that's not a lie, the girls are ridiculously beautiful. So now, as far as Vladimir Putin, what do people think of him? Well, I don't think young people are a huge fan of Putin. I don't know how I get down. They think he's too old-fashioned. Oh, that looks like a way down. They think he's kind of old-fashioned. But I think older people really like him. Everyone respects him. I mean, he's clearly very bright. I don't like my hair being all silly. He's very bright, very powerful. I like him because he makes my life... Ooh, let me try and go downstairs. He makes my life very easy by giving Americans 3-year business or tourist visas. They're relatively cheap and easy to get compared to other countries I've tried to get visas for. And you can stay. You only have to leave every 6 months. There's no like a few months in, a few months out like most countries I've tried to get visas for. So I really like Putin for keeping that rule in place for a long time now, even after the sanctions and ties with America and Russia, at least as far as the news tell you, have got strained, but we still get the visas every time. Americans almost never get denied visas to Russia unless there's like a really good reason. Okay, another question I get is, how's healthcare if you want to live there? Okay, I'm gonna go down a staircase without falling. And so the time I did get strep throat there, I went to an office, got antibiotics. It was very modern, clean, much better than the time I went to get medicine in... I went to a dentist and a hospital in Thailand. I got some stitches in Thailand. And yeah, the Russian facility is much nicer, also cheap. I think it was like $40 for a doctor visit. Where the bad reputation comes from is, I think that, well, everyone gets free healthcare still there, so you can go to just a government-owned doctor's office, and I heard that care is not very good. Like, not very well certified doctors, you know, probably not the cleanest facility or modern equipment. So yeah, as a foreigner, you can't go to those offices even if you wanted to. So yeah, just the private healthcare clinics are gonna be just fine. And the last question I get is, what about infrastructure? And infrastructure is just as good as the West there. I mean, you'll be without water a few days a year for maintenance, repairing pipes, and hot water all comes from the power plant. So for maybe a couple weeks a year, you're going to get, you're going to have no hot water. Here you go, thank you. So a couple weeks out of the year, you're going to have no hot water. That's not really a problem because it's warm in the summer. You get used to taking a cold shower. And buses and metros run on time, they're cheap. And internet is very fast, cheap, and reliable, both at home and on cell phones. So that's all the notes I had about differences in Russia. Be sure to write me questions. Maybe I'll make another video if I go somewhere interesting again. But yeah, that was a whole tour of the temple. There's bigger ones, but like I said, I ran out of time, so I'm not going to make it to a bigger temple today. So thanks for watching. See you guys later.